Anyways, today's recording is going to be a lot. I don't want to say more unscripted, but definitely more unleashed. Because this will be the first time that I'm recording without a shirt on. And like, I don't know, it's something about my personality when my titties are hanging free that just makes me better at Star Wars.
That makes no sense whatsoever.
It doesn't have to make sense. Don't think about it. Allow me to
That's
channel
not-
allow me to channel my inner orangutan. Let my titties hang. My booty hole purple is great.
I want to get that checked out.
You know what? My doctor said the same thing.
Wouldn't your doctor be the one checking it out?
No, doctor not
Weird.
allowed to see my pussy. Only this one hooker down the street named Carl is. She's beautiful.
Carl?
Carl, yeah.
You heard him.
Like
said
from
what I
Jimmy
said.
Neutron?
No.
He said what he said.
I said what I said.
He doesn't have a plethora of croissants?
You gotta say the word right, otherwise it doesn't. You gotta say croissant.
I don't have that much energy in me.
I'm just trying to finish some of
Ew.
these fries, so I'm not eating and recording.
Thing's great, man.
Stop playing with your pistol.
Fuse.
Is that what kids call it these days?
Sure.
Welcome everyone to the Force Unscripted. It's your boy NKDA back at it again with another collaboration with two idiots who basically each have a quarter of a brain cell. So we functioning on the low end of the spectrum here when it comes to brain power, but I still enjoy their company for some reason. What's up, dudes?
Definitely speak for yourself there, bud.
Hold up. So are you
Yeah.
saying wait? So y'all don't enjoy my company?
I don't think that was the part I was talking about.
What was the part you were talking
was
about?
the part I was talking
Oh wait, which part?
I'm pretty sure you have the quarter of a brain cell.
I think that's being a little too generous in my opinion.
Wait, this is bullshit. I have more degrees than
1/5
both
of a
you.
brain cell?
I have more degrees than both of you. Eat my ass.
1/13 of a brain cell?
I have to have at least one.
Didn't know.
Yes. Anyway, besides these two fuckers being rude to me once again, even though I am the kindest soul that they've ever come across, today's episode is kind of exciting. So for those of you who are into clones and Mandalorians, you're really going to enjoy this episode. We're going to be focusing on one of me and Wen'shi's favorite authors in the Legends timeline, Karen Traviss. She is basically a pioneer when it comes to not only what we learn about clones, because she wrote some of the first backstories that really delve into the life of clones during the Clone Wars, but also she, as Wen'shi let me and Exotic know, like basically kind of fleshed out the Mandalorian language, which is impressive because that entire thing is you can say some creative insults in that language. I love speaking Mandoa.
Yeah, the inception of that language was the intro music for the Republic Commando video game, which is actually Vodeon, the song that's frequently referenced in the actual books. That's where the very beginning of the language came from, and then when she wrote the books about the commandos from that point, she went in and fleshed out like a good chunk of words needed to like actually have a language that like there's a certain quantity of words needed for like a language to reach a critical like mass or whatever critical point where it can like actually function. I can
I'm sorry.
leave.
I'm sorry. You made me okay. That genuinely made me smile because I was just thinking like language, and then you just go critical mass, and I'm just like, wait a minute.
But essentially, like any language needs like a certain number of words before it needs to be generated for it before it can like start to actually function as a fully fleshed out language in everyday use. That point is like 2,000 or 3,000 words with like hitting like key verbs and whatnot, and then from there, I think it can through like colloquialisms and all that kind of stuff. You can eventually like fully develop a language just from that like starting set of words.
I actually didn't know that like there was like a word amount requirement to be considered a language. I thought you could just be like any bullshit and just be like, yeah, it's a language.
Now, I actually learned this fact while I was studying Mandoa because she kind of mentioned that in the like final blog post she did about it. She was like, I'm not gonna, because Disney bought like Star Wars, I'm not gonna be developing this language any further, but I have gotten it to the point, like that critical point where it can be like used as a fully fleshed out language from this point. So I won't be developing it any further, but should be to the point where you can use it, for whatever you need to use it for.
I miss her,
So
honestly. I wish she would have come back for Disney books, but I understand. Also, that mentioning the Republic Commando is a good segue into like the first portion of the show because I love. Well, okay, so you said it's pronounced Vodeon? I thought it was Vodon.
I'm pretty sure it's Vodeon because yeah, it is. Because
Okay.
vote is the singular, Vode is the plural.
Right, you're right. Okay, well, I like Vodeon because, and we learned this in the Karen Travis books, but basically, it's like this way to show camaraderie between the clones with their Mandalorian background. And basically, the entire song, they're like beating the shit out of each other. And like, if you miss a step, you will walk away with bruises. And that is just something that I love about the entire song. When they were describing the ceremony, when they were like, well, they were playing like some sport. I forget what the name of the Mandalorian sport was, but they were doing Vodeon and they were just like beating the shit out of each other. It was hilarious.
There's a couple guys who like they'll start it and then more people will join in, and like if you like miss a step or whatever, like all of a sudden like you just get like clocked in the face. Like if you're on tempo like doing it properly, you might walk away with like some minor bruises and whatnot, but like you don't get like fully just decked. But if you do it wrong, the guy next to you, he's not pulling his punches, he's just going. So like you put your face in the wrong spot, all of a sudden you're missing a chin, like that's on you.
You know what, and that's another thing too. Like, I really appreciated the Mandalorian background that Karen Travis added to the clones, because I feel like we don't really get that in the Clone Wars stuff. Bad Batch, Clone Wars, any kind of like media from that time of what that was, like 19 BBY or something like that.
Yeah.
We don't get any of that. And that was one part that I really like loved about reading those books, was that you see like, one, there's a big juxtaposition between the first round of clones, the ones trained on Camino, and then the Sparty cylinder clones, the ones that come from Coruscant's moon, Syntax 2. But you don't really see much difference in the waves of clones that actually, do waves of clones come after the Camino clones in Clone Wars?
Yeah, there's a million more well on the way or something like that. There was definitely another wave or two afterwards,
Yeah.
but like the initial, like at least for the commandos, the full wave of commandos went to Geonosis and then subsequently lost 50% of their numbers.
Yeah, tough. Geonosis was basically fucking D-Day of Star Wars.
Yeah, let's talk about that shit, cuz damn, you got 10,000 like elite Mandalorian trained troops, the trainers are handpicked by Jango Fett, hide away for 10 years, raising these kids, shooting live ammo over their heads, accidentally sometimes killing them and being traumatized forever. And then you send them off to their first battle and their generals are some fuckwits with little laser swords who've never led an army before, and all of a sudden half of your elite troops that you just raised from like being little fetuses in a whatever test tube, they're all gone because they die in some fucking tunnels because these fucking light stick dudes have no clue how to lead an army. Amazing.
It does kind of contribute to the entire storyline of the Jedi becoming more militant, because like, they weren't, and then they were kind of forced to be. Or were they forced to be? I guess they were.
They weren't forced. It was they didn't turn down the opportunity.
I feel like they were forced though, because Yoda has that one line from the Clone Wars where like Mace is like, "Is this the right choice?" And he goes, "Right choice, no. Only choice, yes."
Yeah, but like we see plenty of Jedi who walk away from being generals in an army of child soldiers,
Yeah, because they are children. They're children with
and they
adult
have
bodies.
no rights.
Yeah, they were marginalized children with adult bodies. Holy shit, I'm a clone.
I'm pretty sure droids had more rights than the clones did.
They made a comment about how little rights the clones actually had. Like, there was part in the books where they were like talking about like, well, what happens after the war? And they were just like, well, they get decommissioned. They're like, what does that mean? And then the answer was, well, they get decommissioned.
Like one of the boys, Fee, takes a
Not
high explosive
Fee.
round
No.
to the face, and he's got like severe brain injury. And they send him off to like a Republic medical facility, and the droid's like, "We've seen no signs of brain activity." The guy's still breathing, by the way, like breathing unassisted. and whatnot. But the droid's like, we see no signs of brain activity, so he's being decommissioned. And they're like, what does that mean? It's like, well, he's gonna be put in the fucking trash compactor. They got zero rights. They weren't even willing to like help the dude out, maybe try and rehabilitate him. They're like, he ain't got a brain cell. He's not worth anything to the Republic. I mean, there was some fucked up stuff going on, man.
Yeah,
They get him
not
out.
the
They get our boy Fee out. He does have a pretty much full recovery, and just for your sake, I'll let you know, Mr. Nikeda, that he's not one of the ones that dies in the book that you haven't read.
I kind of assume that because I feel like Barton talked about something in like the later books in the Legacy of the Force about Fee, right? I'm pretty sure he had mentioned that he still had uncles who had helped him out after like some had passed. I assumed Fee was going to make it because Fee probably didn't see active combat after that.
Oh, he definitely saw active combat after that.
No, not Fee. I love him. Okay.
He made like pretty much a full recovery in the next book.
Oh, because of the genome
Barton.
that they. Oh wait.
Well,
Oh,
yeah,
Barton kept healing him.
Barton kept healing him for a long time, and what was her name? Browler's daughter, cousin or whatever, niece.
Dude, I have no clue.
The mechanic
names.
girl.
I know who you're talking about, but I have no clue about names. It wasn't Lasima. That's like the only name that I can ever remember.
She helps him with his rehabilitation, and they get married, and it's all Gucci.
I think it's really interesting to kind of dive deeper into like the intricacies of like clone life. You can tell that there was no plan. And I guess that's part of like Palpatine's machinations for like running two sides of a war, but like these soldiers were bred to fight, and no one ever stopped to think, well, what happens after the fighting? Whether we win or lose, what's going to happen to all of these people who have accelerated aging?
There were definitely people who did think that, but they were silenced forcefully, violently,
quote unquote. Yeah,
we see some of it in Bad Batch and Clone Wars, don't we?
I know Clone Wars. I don't know about Bad Batch.
I thought we saw a little bit of it in Bad Batch, but we definitely see it in Clone Wars.
Exotic, if you had to decide, if you were like well, I guess in this case, the Chancellor, and you had to make an executive order on what to do with the clones after the fighting is over, what would you have them do?
A great question.
Is there a great answer that's going to follow it?
I don't know. I mean, if you actually look at today's military compared to them, it's not really too easy to compare.
Who's
compare.
Military? Who's military?
Our military.
That's a very bad example, man.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm not mistaken, the clones like they don't even get like paid for being soldiers.
Nope.
So to be able to set in a plan, you would have to in turn pay them for their service.
Oh man,
So
unlimited bitches and booze. That's all I need.
Because I mean, like
bitches and booze.
In Clone Wars, we see that one clone that fucking pretty much said, I'm gonna see you after his whole fucking like platoon got wiped out, and decided he wanted to knock up a Twi'lek bitch and just kind of live out his life there.
Oh yeah, that scene when I mentioned it to Hunter pissed him off because in the Karen Travis books, like there's specifically a couple that's a clone and a Twi'lek, and they can't have a baby, and they're sitting there watching their other clone, like his other clone brothers, have babies with women that they're with. And I told Hunter, I was like, yeah, dude, a clone has a baby with a Twi'lek in the Clone Wars, and he was like, that's fucked up.
Yeah, man, like Aiden and Lasima are together for the entire like at least through Imperial Commando. And like yeah, the whole time like Darmin, who's one of Omega Squad, is married to Etain, who's a Jedi, and they have a kid. His name's Cad. He's dope.
And Cad means blade, right?
Yeah. Also, he also is known as Venku. That's the one that they were mainly like focused on because Lasima ended up being the like nanny for Cad for a very long time. So that's the one like relationship they focus on. But there's a couple other like instances of that. But yeah, basically like they're always jealous a little bit of Darmin and Etain because they can have a kid, whereas Aiden and Lasima can't. And then they're like, oh hey, yeah, this clone and this Twee in the Clone Wars, they just have a kid. I'm like, this is bullshit. This is bullshit. I got to watch my boy suffer for like 4 books, and you're just like take all of his suffering and just toss it in the trash can in one episode of the Clone Wars. That's some bull.
Who was the one that ended up with the lawyer lady?
The lawyer. Like Bethany or
Yeah, Bethany. Who ended up with Bethany? I forget. He was like
Ordo.
Ordo. Didn't Ordo and Bethany have a kid?
Not at the time of Imperial Commando.
Gotcha. Okay. Or Ordo don't make it either, do we?
Ordo makes it.
Oh, God bless. He's my favorite, honestly. Out of all the Karen Travis like characterized clones, Ordo was my favorite.
Sorry, Bethany, not Bethany.
Bethany
Ordo
was
is
no. Okay, sorry. I'm thinking of Githany. Githany was with Bane. Bethany was with Ordo.
Bethany and Jilka. Jilka was the one that they like that Carmack and Jang put the blame on for the hacking of the Republic like banking system, you know? And then so Jilka got sent to prison and they like broke her out later because they're badasses. But yeah, of all of them, Ordo. So it's Ordo, Jang, Carmack, Prudy, Aten, and who's the last one?
Niner.
No, Niner is not an alpha or a null arc. Niner is
Wait,
not a null arc.
neither was. I thought a 10 wasn't either.
No. Aiden was
Oh,
Omega
Aiden.
Squad.
Okay.
A10, yeah, A10 was a null arc.
Other way around.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, A10 was Omega Squad because it was Niner, Fee, A10, and Darman.
Okay. Look, man, there's one letter off.
There's so many 2 letters off because it's ADEN and ATIN.
Oh, I was right. Ha!
What?
No, I was wrong. Anyway. Oh, Muriel. There we go. Muriel. Muriel's
okay.
my favorite. Muriel's my favorite besides Ordo. I'm not gonna tell you who dies.
Okay. Well, that's fair. Jang was computer whiz, right?
Jang was computer whiz.
Yeah, okay. I like Jang. Jang was my number 2. Ordo was my favorite. Ordo was like the leader of them, kind of.
Yeah, Ordo is, as you can see, the captain.
As I can see.
And the Brick is doing his job.
Oh, fact check. Look at Brick 3PO. I love that dude sometimes. But I just the entirety of that Skyrata clan family was I loved all their dynamics. It's funny to me because you know they're all Jango Fett templates, right? But like they all are just so distinct in their personalities, and that holds true for the entirety of the Clone War. I mean, we get to see in like Clone Wars where different soldiers have different like decals on their armor, markings and stuff, and like I think that before we had the Clone Wars, and for those of you who like didn't read the books, you always kind of thought like, oh yeah, it's just a bunch of Jango Fetts, because they don't really dive into them. Even in like Revenge of the Sith, when you see like Obi-Wan talking to Cody and you know the other clone generals, like they all just basically look like Jango Fett. They're all just like Jango. They don't really give them personalities, but when you read these books, when you see the Clone Wars, when you go into the stories, it makes it worth it because then you know that this wasn't just like a well, okay, it is a copy paste army, but like it's a copy paste army with like italics. I was trying to.
They're not droids. They're not droids.
Which is that was the other thing too that I thought was like kind of funny in the beginning because like it always felt like the drones or the droids had like the personality that you would expect like a dude army would have, and then the clones were like sentients that were just like very mechanical and droid like in their fighting. It was like vice versas, honestly.
For a while, people in like citizens of the Republic thought that they were like droids because they always walked around in their armor and stuff. So that's why like they had some of them walk around in regs so that like the civilians could actually see that they were humans underneath all the armor.
We don't have any confirmation on it, I guess, but I'm pretty sure like also the Skyrata clan is like the richest singular entity in all of the Star Wars Legends timeline. Like those motherfuckers were taken care of for their entire lives when it came to money and credits.
We don't know like how much money like the Hutts have or anything like that, but I wouldn't think they would have more than the Skyratas.
I mean, from the first, like, what, didn't he give, like, some number? It was, like, 14 trillion credits. Like, I don't think the Hutts have that kind of money, honestly.
It's, like, 50 or 60 trillion.
Oh, yeah, well, that makes sense. So, for those of you who don't know, basically, like, I think it was Jang and Muriel come up with, like, this program where they basically, like, shoot it into, like, the Treasury of Coruscant, like, database. Where all
Through
it
Bethany,
does,
that was her where that kind of thing came from earlier that I mentioned.
Yeah, because she put it. She was the one who like she actually helped them put it into the system, right? Yeah. So what the program was set to do was like, so Coruscant has trillions of people living on there. Basically, everyone with a registered bank account, like basically this program just kind of scrapes a credit out of each one of those accounts.
Not
no
even a
one's.
credit, like a half a credit or something like that.
Are
Like
you sure? I thought it was like one credit.
it may be one, but like it spread more than they thought it would.
Yeah, and so like, cause no one's gonna like really bitch about losing, like half a credit, right? So they did that to like everyone, and they ran it at like a certain interval. I don't know what the interval was, but I mean, like, if you take $1 from a trillion people, boom, you're a trillionaire.
Yeah, so essentially the null arcs, there's 6 of them in the books. They're the very first batch of modified clones. They are smarter, like stronger, little more wild because they keep more of the like original FET DNA that the Kaminoans hadn't like kind of filtered out yet. So like along with also the original ARC troopers, the null arcs are still like the batch before the Alpha ARC troopers, who are the like original ARCs, and then they trained other ARC troopers like Rex and them, later on. Then it became a designation, but originally it was a classification of genome that they were given. The null arcs there were 6 of them. They are like geniuses. Just they were everything the Kaminoans could throw into a body to make it like better, like the best. They had it, and so they are genius hackers, like genius, infiltration experts. What name it? Like you name it, they were good at it. And so yeah, they wrote this little program that like was just supposed to go through and like originally the like main purpose of the program was to check all of the transactions that were happening throughout the Republic because they were trying to find, weird discrepancies, trying to figure out how the CIS had so many droids or like claimed to have so many droids, trying to figure out where Republic funding was going, that kind of thing. And on the side, like just as a little side project, they were like, yo, while we're at it, let's skim a couple credits. And the program was a self-replicating program, and they didn't think that like they didn't realize how connected every single bank account was in the central like banking agency or whatever. And so it basically hit every single citizen of like the Republic's bank account, and so they were skimming trillions of credits like a week from the bank. And so when they eventually made their escape from the Republic around the time of Order 66, they made off like bandits.
Rich bandits, filthy rich
Rich
bandits at that.
bandits. Oh yeah.
And by the way, Rex was never an ARC trooper.
That I was gonna ask about that too.
Oh, was it just the other ones like
It's fives and
fives in them? Okay, I didn't know if Rex got the
No.
training or not.
Was Cody wasn't an ARC, was he?
No.
They
no.
attended like they went and took that training, but they never were officially ARC troopers.
Gotcha. Okay,
Yeah.
I knew like the other ones that fives in them were. I just didn't know if Rex was or not.
Yeah, I didn't even know Fives was an ARC.
That was a whole arc in fucking Clone Wars.
Yeah, but I missed the part where he was an ARC trooper. I know Fives in his story. I also want to know where the Bad Batch, because they don't exist in Legends, right? But I want to know where they would fall, because I feel like null arcs still exist. They might not be like the same characters that me and Wen'shi know, but I want to know where the Bad Batch would fall in the null arc group. Like, did they precede the null arcs? Were they afterwards?
I mean, I feel like the null arc still could have had a place in Clone Wars, even though they're not like ever brought into play. But I feel like the Bad Batch was like Disney's replacement for the null arcs.
Oh, you know what? That would
That's
make
how
sense.
that's how I've always viewed the Bad Batch. Like the Bad Batch was like Disney took the idea of like extra modified clones who were really badass, like, and did cool badass like covert ops and all that kind of stuff, and then they made it into something that like kids would enjoy. And so they gave you like the funny characters and the very very different personalities of some of them and whatnot, and they took the null arc idea and they gave you the Bad Batch instead.
I had never thought about that. You might absolutely be right. Actually, I'm pretty sure you're right. I would like to hop on that train of thought. Actually, that's cool.
Because I mean, that's what the null arcs were like. Originally was the Kaminoans seeing like how far they could take the FET genome and coming out on. I mean, the Kaminoans thought it was a failure, because the boys, like, when they were like, they're 3 years old basically, but six, because of the accelerated aging. They don't follow orders properly. They're 6 years old. They don't follow orders the way that the Kaminoans want, so they're gonna recycle them. And there's a Mandalorian trainer there by the name of Cal Scarada who basically threatens to kill Ton Wee and Kosai for even suggesting that they would recycle the kids. And he takes them in and like gives them like pieces of cake, and they spend the night with him, and they have like nightmares because they basically have PTSD and shell shock, and so they're like hiding under the covers and stuff while he's trying to like take care of these kids that they were about to fucking recycle. There's some fucked up shit. But yeah, the Kaminoans wanted to see how far they could take the Fett genome. I feel like that was Disney saying like, hey, they took it a little maybe too far in some cases. Like, but like Wrecker, I mean, poor guy. He could have been given a few more brain cells. But
I love Wrecker. Maybe that's why I love Wrecker so much. I relate to having so few brain cells that you can barely function, but you can run through shit and break stuff.
yeah, but you don't like getting hurt.
That is true. I am a little bitch when it comes to pain. This motherfucker has been making me work out 3 times a week. I'm still sore.
Making?
Yeah, half the time it's against my will. At least half.
He comes over to my house right at the time that I go to the gym and expects me to not make him come to the gym with me. When he complains about like wanting to look good and like be confident in his own self. All
Bitch,
right?
I do look good and I am confident in my own self. I just want to be swole too.
See? There you go. He wants to be swole, so I force him to go to the gym.
So you admit to your crimes. Caught in 4K. You know we record, right?
If you weren't at my house, I wouldn't make you go, but you come to my house.
Hey, Brick 3PO, can we get a fact check on something real quick? I want to know what the name of the cake was that Cal Skyrada gave to the
Ooch cake.
Ooch cake. Okay, so never mind. No need for a fact check. The way they described that shit made it sound so good, like spongy and sweet. I was like, I want to try some of this cake.
It's a dense, very sweet flat cake made of ground nuts, syrup, and pureed dried fruit and spice. Yeah, ooch cake.
Ugh. So Uj Alai is the whole name for it?
Yeah, because alai is cake, so it's just uj alai. You don't need to put cake after it.
Uj Alai cake. Uj cake.
Yeah, uj cake.
You know what? If we go, so Wen'shi and I are going to a rave, which is gonna be my first rave. So if I see someone throwing that ass, I'm just gonna scream Alai. Someone's gonna think I'm crazy, but they'll never know what I'm talking about. That's worth it. Wait, so Brick 3PO also found a full recipe for the. Can you drop the recipe, dude? You know what? And I just realized this. I have a Star Wars cookbook that I've like never opened and cooked food out of. I need to.
Do they have the hut snacks in there?
You know, not that I know of, but out of curiosity, can I ask why you're inquiring about hut snacks?
Well, I know that you wanted to go down on a hut, so I just didn't.
That has nothing to do. This is so disrespect. I came here to have a good time, and honestly, I'm feeling so attacked right now.
I mean, that's the first thing that came to my mind too. Whenever you said that,
that's why I was like, you know, I did think about that, but why are you asking? Hey man, look, you say you would go down on a hut rather than burn off your legs, and all of a sudden your homies want to crucify you upside down like St. Peter. This is bullshit.
I feel like one's a lot more scarring than the other.
Hey,
yeah,
St.
and
Peter
it's the
chose
sticky
to be upside down.
Look,
so.
It's this okay, and I chose to go down on a hut. I need my legs. For those of you listening, me and Wen'shi like guest starred on this podcast called Film Bros, and we have like a 4-part thing with them. One where the first one that we already did, which is where we talk about the prequel trilogies. The one we just did where we talked about the original trilogy, and I'm pretty sure I kind of slightly embarrassed us because they had like watched the episode, and I brought up the whole, like, I asked them the question too, like, would you rather go down on a hut or like burn your legs off on Mustafar? And I feel like they were so judging me, which I mean, like, it's okay, but you know, I said what I said, and I still stand by my answer.
Look, man, the bullshit that they said for the rest of the episode more than counters the slight, you know, guffaw that you may have put out there. Okay, they got some ideas that are wrong.
When she was mad the entire time, for the first time in my life, I shut the fuck up to listen to someone else because I was just so enthralled at him going in on them.
Like,
Don't rehash it. Just drop it. Don't get mad all over again.
I'm gonna get mad again next episode because they're gonna say the same thing. Like, why is it a recurring theme?
Because they're film bros, dude. Everyone knows film bros are like that.
But he said,
Let it go.
From
Let it go.
from a film industry perspective, I'm always right. Like, boy, son, Adika.
You know what? Also, one thing that I forgot to mention too is like I don't remember the opening for Republic Commando. I've been trying to since you mentioned it, and I can't remember the Vode On song from there. I guess it's probably on YouTube.
It's like anywhere. Just look up Vodeon, and it's on the Wikipedia page. They literally have a little button you can click that'll play it, and it is Vodeon because they specifically say Vodeon in the.
Okay, I believe you. That's why I was asking. I don't want to pronounce the shit wrong because I've been pronouncing a lot of shit wrong. I even pronounce English words wrong.
Yeah, we know.
What do you mean we know?
We can go back to the Wikipedia.
Wikia? Yeah, it's a Wikia.
Still just throwing an A in there randomly, but alright.
We haven't really like talked about anything specific. We've just kind of been like flirting through ideas. But like,
I mean, that's good enough.
well, okay, but we've barely talked about Delta Squad, so Exotic's over here like wishing he had something to talk about. So
I told you I'm not reading no books, so that's all y'all.
Delta Squad is very prevalent in the Republic Commando books. They're not like the main focus, but they pretty much, except for the first book, they're in every book, like doing joint actions and whatnot with the other commandos. So the main focus of the books are typically Omega Squad and then like the Scarada clan, including the Null Arcs, mostly Ordo. The first book is almost solely focused on Omega Squad. You don't really have any of the other guys, none of the other Mandalorian trainers or anything like that in there. You see a little bit of the Battle of Geonosis, like we mentioned before. So like half of the Republic Commandos forces were like wiped out during the Battle of Geonosis, and the like really where the book picks up in like chapter 2 is some of the remaining clones being brought into like new squads. So typically commandos operate in squads of 4, as we see in the Republic Commando video game, and Omega Squad is one of the first squads mashed together from various like other squads. They were all from separate squads. They lost all 3 of their other squad mates and then were brought together as a new squad. And so a lot of the first book is them like learning to work together with each other because they do all have different personalities and whatnot. 3 of the clones were trained by Cal Scarada. One of them, Aten, was trained by Wayland Vow, who
his arch nemesis.
They become buddies later. So they kind of had some differences in like training ideology and whatnot, because each of the Quaveldar trained the clones a little bit differently. They were the 100, the Quaveldar were 100 trainers taken to each train, like whatever that math is.
Not all Quaveldar are Darmanda, are they? Are any of them Darmanda?
Some of them are Darmanda, but like most of them are just Quaveldar, which is gone but not forgotten, basically.
Was Cal
basically
considered, what's it called? Was Cal considered a Darmanda?
Oh no, his kids declared him Darbuir.
Oh, okay, got you.
But no, he was Mandoa till the day he died.
I was getting the terms confused. That's what I meant, Darbuir.
Yeah. Darmanda means no longer Mandalorian in like a very like you're a traitor to the people kind of way. But no, so like Jango Fett handpicked 100 trainers. Not all of them were Mandalorians. Some of them were bounty hunters or whatnot. Yeah, mercenaries, that kind of thing. He picked 100 people to like basically either fake their deaths or just kind of disappear from the galaxy for the 10 years that it took to train the clones. They were paid well, but they disappeared from the face of the universe or face of the galaxy to train those clones. They each had their own like methods of training them. Like I said, not all of them were Mandalorians. Not all of them were raised the same way, even in the Mandalorian culture. Some of them, like Dread Priest and what's his girlfriend's name? Isabet Rao. They were previous Death Watch. They like had like fight clubs, within the troops that they trained. They did some fucked up shit. Some of them were more like fatherly figures, like Cal. Some of them were just hard asses like Waylon. They all had different like methodologies. But anyway, the first book is those clones, learning to work together. Darman meets Etain, who was a Jedi Padawan on this planet.
Kilora.
Yes, Kilora, where there are two like main species that live there, the Kilorans and the like humans, right? The other ones were
Okay.
humans.
There were also a lot of weakways on that planet too.
But most of the weakways were the hired help of what's his face?
Gaz Hoken, that dude.
Yeah, Gez Hoken. Gez Hoken. Yeah, yeah. They were his hired help. So there was a lab on Kilura where a like basically mad scientist, Dr. Uthan, was developing a virus that specifically targeted the Fett genome in an effort to like wipe, basically release a nanovirus into like the atmosphere of planets to completely wipe out any like Fett related people that showed up on those planets. So essentially she was developing a super virus to wipe out the entire Republic army. Crazy shit. Later they break her out of prison like in a later book, and they kind of blackmail her into helping them try and reverse the accelerated aging on the clones, which she is successful in doing in the book that Tay hasn't read, but he knew she would be successful, so that's not like a crazy fact.
Oh, I get to be Tay.
Sorry, Nikeda. So they crash land on Kilura because their ship wasn't very good to begin with. They're split up. The troopers. Darman meets Etain, and she had no clue that there was a Grand Army of the Republic. So he basically teaches her how to be his commander because all the Jedi, even the Padawans, had some rank higher than the clones in the Grand Army of the Republic. So he first told her that she was his ranking officer, and then taught her how to be his ranking officer as they were traveling through Kilura, trying to get to Gez Hoken's facility. Gez Hoken was a Mandalorian mercenary that was hired by Dr. Uthan and the what was it, the Trade Federation? I forget who was paying her, but the CIS essentially. You see a lot of like the terror in all of the like employees of Gez Hoken, basically the sad saps, because Gez was not a benevolent employer.
Far from it.
And yeah, so like 4 clones just in the shadows, like spec ops, like, hunting down weak ways left and right. Like the droid, they are badasses. They take on this whole facility by themselves. Like they tunnel underneath it, plant explosives. They capture Uthan. I think Fee kills Gez Hoken and takes his armor. So later on, when Fee gets injured and they pull him out from that Republic medical facility and take him to for rehab and whatnot. That's the armor he wears from that point, is Gez Hoken's armor. So he won that. It was a very good book, an intro to the Republic Commandos, but you don't really see much of the larger galaxy at all, except for like that pocket realm of the 4 in Omega Squad and then Etain.
So I don't know if you know this, but just to piggyback off what you said about Gez Hoken, did you know that like Venku's helmet is Hoken's helmet because that's what Fee gave him?
Interesting.
Yeah, I found that out a couple days ago when I was like re-looking through like the books and the wiki page, not Wikia Exotic.
Good job.
I'm improving, yeah. But yeah, I
Wikia
found that
is a type of site though.
See, he thought I was just being stupid to be stupid, but anyways, continue. I'm
yeah,
sorry.
Yeah, I didn't know that Fee had that Cad wore Fee's helmet. I wonder if it still had the like brain damage marker on it.
Probably not. Maybe. You know what? I feel like Cad would be the type of person to leave it on there just to remember Fee.
And then book 2. So book 2 is 000. 000 was the code for Coruscant that the Grand Army of the Republic used. 000. They just kind of designated planets by numbers. And they're doing so. We're introduced to like a wide range of characters, including Cal, their trainer, Waylon, their trainer. Delta Squad is very heavily present in this book. Them and Delta Squad and Omega Squad do a joint operation to. Well, it was a like drug smuggling ring, right?
Yes.
And some terrorists. Like it was a terrorist organization plus a drug smuggling operation or something like that. And like Fee at one point throws himself on a grenade and saves a bunch of like local police force. So like he becomes a hero to them.
Oh yeah,
You're
they fucking
introduced
love
to
him after that.
Lacima. Oh yeah, they love him. You're introduced to Lasima. Etain, I think, takes part in this operation, as well as Barden. Barden's a Jedi who later, leaves the Jedi Order and just becomes a full Mandalorian. Kind of got in, he
And
drank the
Master
Kool-Aid.
Zay was in on it too.
Yeah, Zay was in on it, but Zay's a weird one. Zay's a dude.
A dude.
His death was cool.
And then we also had the what was her name? She was a Wookiee. I liked her because she was very sassy. Inaka.
Yeah, she was the driver.
Yeah.
she was the getaway driver. So at one point you're introduced to Bethany, who Ordo and Muriel kind of getting. She is investigating like in the alleyways, like some stuff that's going on. She's noticing some transactions because she's an auditor. She notices some transactions that aren't lining up and whatnot, and she basically gets hunted down by one of the Kalorans, who are shapeshifters. We didn't mention that before, but they are shapeshifters, super good shapeshifters too. Basically the best like infiltration specialists you can find, and they're following Bethany, and at one point I think it's Ordo, right, that puts a bullet in one of them, not realizing that they were a Kaloran, or was it Bethany that put the bullet in him? I forget.
The only thing from that book that I really remembered that was of note was like a 10 getting so pissed off at how much Cal like loved his clones that he just fucking dukes it out with Waylon.
Yeah, he does. Just beats the shit out of him. Cause Waylon was not like nice to the boys. Like he trained them to be hard asses. He trained them to survive. He didn't train them like as like a father figure. Like, so in Mandalorian culture, some of them at least, like in Cal's case, Cal had I'm not gonna go too deep into Mandalorian stuff, but Cal had a good dad, good adoptive father, and who trained him very young, trained him to survive, but was a very fatherly, like loving fatherly figure. Whereas Waylon, he joined the Mandalorian Society later. He was an aristocrat on, I forget what planet, and his father, was absent and whatnot. So they had very different upbringings, and their clones were trained very differently. And Aten was not happy when they finally meet up again. But yeah, we see at one point, like, Bethany is getting followed by that one guy, and Ordo pulls up in a speeder, like, fucking puts his hand over the guy's mouth, pushes him into the speeder, and then they're flying around, and he just slots the guy and like kicks him out the side, and Inaka's just like, did you have to get the upholstery dirty? Like,
I love sassy Wookiee comedic relief.
yeah, so that's 000. You get a lot of Delta Squad interactions in there, along with Omega Squad. Omega Squad chose to like change their armor colors to all black. They're the only Commando squad that does that. They didn't like walking around in forests with full white armor in the very first book. Okay, yeah, it was Ordo that shot the Kaluran. They did not let him live that down.
I
Yeah,
mean,
we see
when you trigger happy, you can't help it sometimes. You gotta let them know that the blicky stay heated.
I mean, he is a like very almost feral clone of Jango. He just happened to have a loving dad who kept him from going off the deep end, right? Like, he see problem, he put bullet in problem.
Shoot first, ask questions later.
Yeah, so most of this stuff doesn't show up in the Republic Commando game, but you do get a lot of Delta Squad interaction in this one. And then the next one is what, True Contact?
True Colors. It's Hard Contact,
True Colors,
000, and then True
Hard
Colors.
Contact 000. Yeah, True Colors. True Colors is where like Fee gets hurt, shit kind of starts going down. You start to see like inklings of like things happening in the Republic that's not right. Like Cal and them hunt down Kosai, who was the main like scientist on Camino who like actually developed the Fett genome. So like she had done a runner at one point, and they were trying to hunt her down. Delta Squad was the squad tasked with hunting her down. Cal and Ordo and Waylon get to her first, and they kidnap her, and they're trying to convince her to reverse the Fett genome, or the accelerated aging that she, developed for the Fett genome, and then not blackmail, but they convince her to do it by giving her a sample of Cad's like blood, because he's a clone and Jedi child who is very, powerful in the Force. And after she takes a look at the blood sample, she offs herself because she was like, "It was beautiful, thanks, peace."
This is your problem now.
Yeah. And then Muriel made gloves out of her. He used her skin to make leather gloves. Bro, they hated the Kaminoans, dude.
I mean, as they should have.
I know, it's just, dude, I love that he's just like, yo, when you die, I'm gonna make some gloves out your ass. And he does, and like even in the like way later books, Muriel actually meets up with Boba Fett. And he's still wearing them gloves. Like he never stops wearing those gloves.
I think one thing that they don't mention about Kaminoans in the clone in the Disney stuff really is that like Kaminoans have this weird alien type of like vision. So the reason why like Camino City, or not Camino City, what's the city name in Camino?
Tapoca.
Tapoca City on Camino. The reason why it's all white is because it's all white to us since we see in the visible color spectrum like Roji Biv, but like Kaminoans see past that, like both below and above it. So like we don't really know what Tapoca City actually looks like to them, but it's assumed that it's like regally and flamboyantly colored. They hint on that in the book. So I thought that was a pretty cool fun fact about Kaminoans.
Also, they are very like their caste system is based on eye
Awful.
color.
It's
Literally
awful.
straight based off eye color. If you got green, green eyes, you're like basically treated the same as like a slave would be treated. Like it's so like when you see the various Kaminoans in like Clone Wars and whatnot with certain eye colors, like just pay attention to that because the fancy guys got the good eye colors.
Yeah, going back to what Nikita said, I always thought that, they just had all white in their facilities because it was like a research facility and shit like that. So it's kind of wild that it's just because they see the world differently than us.
Yeah, no, they just want everything to be perfect, literally.
Long neck
Perfectionist.
bitches. How you gonna be a perfectionist on a planet that's drowning? Sounds kind of toxic.
Yeah. So after True Colors, where we kind of start seeing inkling of like what's happening within the Republic, the next book is titled Order 66. So you can imagine what goes down. We see a lot of like clones being conflicted about what's going on. Should they or shouldn't they slot their Jedi, commanders and whatnot. There's a lot of moral debate and arguments and internal conflict in that book. Etain is killed by another Jedi while trying to oh man, it still hurts every time I think about it. She steps in front of a clone trooper to protect him from a rampaging like Jedi trying to escape the city of Coruscant, and she, who is a Jedi herself, gets slashed across the chest and dies. And then it immediately transitions to like Cal. Is it Cal's POV first or is it Darman's POV first?
I think it's Darman's first.
It's Darman's first, and he's just in his helmet, which they have noise canceling, so nobody can hear him. He's just screaming her name inside his helmet, trying to help his brother Niner, who fell off a bridge because he got like knocked off by one of the Jedi, and he had spinal damage for a little while. And then it pans to Cal, who is basically treating her like a daughter for a while, and her son is his grandson basically, because he's adopted the clones that he trained, and he goes off on that Jedi, like pushes through a whole ass crowd, like looks this man right in the eyes, and I think he uses a lightsaber to kill him, doesn't he?
I don't remember. I thought he shot him.
Maybe he did. I totally felt like, or maybe he just picked up the lightsaber and like kept it. I forget, but like he was so mad. He hunted that man down. And mind you, Cal came from. I'm gonna get into whatever. Cal came from a group of Mandalorians that were part of the true Mandalorians that were led by Jango Fett during their war against the Death Watch, and he wasn't present at the Battle of Galadron, and he wished he was, because most of them did, where the Jedi basically massacred the true Mandalorian forces. So they all have a thing, like they hate Jedi. And so the second he's like, first of all, hates Jedi already. Second of all, it's his daughter-in-law just got murdered by a Jedi, regardless of the fact that she's a Jedi herself. Oh, it's a lightsaber kill. Yeah, he pops off on that fucker.
Literally,
I thought it was a
crazy.
lightsaber kill. It's like the passage is like, you can see the panic like he could see the panic in the guy's eyes when we realized that he was wearing Beskar, and he just went to town on him.
And then he got knocked out by Obram, right? Like, cause he was just rampaging at that point.
I don't think he got knocked out. He just got like some sense slapped into him.
Are you sure? I could have sworn Obram like knocked him out, grabbed Atane's body, and they pieced out.
Maybe he did. I don't know. I
It
was
says
mostly focusing on the mental trauma.
On the wiki, it says Skyrada goes insane after Atane's death, and Darmin's shock and attacks the Jedi, where the Jedi are all killed. Darmin and Niner are both picked up by a medical lottie and disappear as Jar Obram knocks Skyrada out with a drug and take Atane's body away with the rest of the Skyrada's defecting group back to Mandalore.
That's okay. I did, because I was trying to think if he hit him. I knew, like, I was like, I don't think he hit him, but yeah, okay, yeah, he popped him full of some
Drugs.
Yeah.
We love drugs.
So that was basically the end of Order 66, and then the next book, Imperial Commando, is very different. It's, the beginning of the Empire. The Commandos are now retasked to be Jedi hunters, so they report almost directly to Vader. They report to a guy who reports directly to Vader, and their whole job is hunting rogue Jedi, kind of like the Inquisitors were doing, in Rebels and whatnot. And they were very good at hunting Jedi, let me tell you. It's only Niner and Darmin that stay behind. Delta Squad does stay behind, but at this point they had lost Sev. So part of the reason they stayed behind was to help find, try and look for Sev, my poor boy. They don't ever find Sev.
Poor Sev and his sexy voice. I miss him.
And yeah, it's Darmin's mental trauma, him like slowly going insane. Niner trying to keep his, homies shit together. Yeah, it's like them hunting Jedi. So it's the Skirata clan like taking in some questionable figures to try and reverse the accelerated aging. That's kind of their main task. At one point, Palpatine releases a super virus that was a modified version of Uthan's super virus, but instead it just wipes out anything living on a planet, and he completely kills like all living things on her home planet, which was pretty fucked. Like, I mean, a Death Star is one thing where it like insta blows up your planet, but a super virus that you release into the atmosphere that like melts all of the living, tissue on it, that's pretty fucked up too. So, and that was very early on in the Imperial reign. Some real crazy shit that happens. But
it checks out for Palpatine's crazy ass, gay evil mastermind mind. What
yeah.
And it's I'm glad you mentioned like super anything really, because like they also mention Jyn Altis, who's the leader of like the hippie Jedis that can like get married and have emotional attachments and stuff while they're on the run. And I think it was you who mentioned it in the book that I haven't read yet. Is like they bring in the Eye of Palpatine, which is like another super weapon that had to do with that group. So I'm glad that it was all tied into each other. Honestly, I'm excited to read it.
The book that he hasn't read is it's a fan made book, but it does a very good job of wrapping it. It is a fully fleshed out book. This guy's written like 15 of them, kind of to like wrap up what was written in Legends before Disney took over. He since Disney bought it, he went took the effort to finish out the the unwrapped up series. So he does incorporate a lot of various elements into these. So the Eye of Palpatine is one. Callista Masana, right? Callista Masana is her name. Yeah, who becomes the... Huh?
Is it? Oh, that was Callista Ming. Or is that someone else? Fact check, Brick
yeah. Oh, it's... Okay, yeah. Okay, Callista Ming, originally known as Callista Masana.
Okay. Was it Ming after the body swap?
Yeah, Ming after the body swap. Yeah, so she's the one who became the AI that Luke had a thing with, that we talked about many episodes ago. She's in that book, and how she became the AI, or how she became a spirit inside the Eye of Palpatine. Like that's explained in that book. What happened to the Jyn Altis, the Altis sect of the Jedi Order, is explained in that book. The kind of wrap up to, or a good wrap up to, what happens with the Skirata clan and why some of them are missing in the later books, where a few of them do show up. That's explained. What happens to my poor man Darmin after his slow descent into madness, and Niner, his brother, who tried his best to keep help his brother keep his shit together. And then Delta Squad, who go rogue, recruit a couple other commandos, and like the 6 of them fully incapacitate and capture and then escape with an Imperial Star Destroyer. That was some deep, some good ass shit. I think it was one of Browler's squads. What was I don't remember the name, but yeah, Delta Squad is very prevalent in all of those. I don't know.
I
Have
like
you
the
ever played the
rivalry
Republic
between
Commando
the two.
game?
Me?
In general, I'm just saying in general.
I
If you've
think
ever
all
played
of
the
us here
game,
have
like
played it.
if you haven't played the game, listeners, I
Oh, my
highly
bad. Sorry.
recommend.
I thought you were talking to us. I'm so sorry.
Motherfucker keeps interrupting me.
I was bro, you've been talking the whole time. You deserve a little interruption. Fucking falling asleep over here.
Okay, like I'm talking about the whatever. There's gonna be like 5 episodes of Mandalorian shit where I'm not gonna shut the fuck up the whole time. So
Good.
this is just a little teaser of the Mandalorian stuff where I just bore the shit out of all of you with Mandalorian facts and lore.
Do these books, do they go into any detail of I think it's like one of the commando squads that actually disobeyed Order 66 because they thought it was just like a false transmission?
I think so. I don't remember that at all. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if multiple. So, like in Legends, there was never a chip. There was never a chip forcing any of the clones to do anything. It was just training, right? In Clone Wars, they kind of took away that like mental anguish that the boys went through when they're like, "What do we do? Like, do we follow this? Like, are we supposed to? Like, is this real? Like, the guy that we've been following, who's like, we fought with for years, all of a sudden is just a traitor? Like, do we kill him? Like, really? Are you sure?" It's just, hey, Order 66 happens. Here's an electrical pulse being sent to your brain. Shooty light stick guy.
I mean, in Bad Batch, you kind of see like the after effects on some of the clones, like Cody, for example.
Sure. Like when you sit back and you're like, damn, did we really just do that? But like at the moment, like, in the moment, they don't have a choice. They're literally programmed like droids, which they aren't droids. But they're programmed like droids to just follow any of the executive orders, which is kind of fucked up when you think about it. It's fucked up even if you don't think about it. Imagine being a person and Elon Musk puts a Neuralink in your brain, and then Elon Musk is like, yo, everybody who's married, shoot your spouse. And then you just do it because chip in brain. Like, that's the future, baby.
Isn't Disney working on like the What If series for Star Wars?
I did see that, yeah.
Yeah, so maybe they'll dive into like what if the clones, didn't actually execute the order. That'd be pretty cool.
I don't know how I feel about a what if series. I feel like it makes me think about too many things that are never gonna happen and don't matter.
I mean, I like the What If series that they're doing for Marvel. It's pretty cool.
I never watched it. All right, Mr. Mandalorian, is your diatribe over, or you got more stuff you want to talk about?
I mean, I could keep going for days.
You went a lot longer than I thought you were. We're gonna have a long ass episode.
My bad.
No, you're good. I just wasn't expecting you to go as long as you did. It's not as a bad thing.
You got me going, and then
I didn't get you doing shit, sir. This was all on your own accord.
You asked me to pick a topic. We picked the topic. So yeah, I didn't shut up.
Good. I wish you were like that all the time. Half the time, you just look at me and don't say shit.
This man says that I show up with no enthusiasm. This is bullshit.
You show up with enthusiasm when it's dealing with clones or Mandalorians. The second I mention Jedi, you're like, here's a Jedi sycophant. I can't be here and exist properly because all he talk about is Jedi. That's you.
Some Jedi are cool.
Name one Jedi you think that is cool that we haven't mentioned so far.
That we haven't mentioned?
Yep.
Oh God, what's his name?
Oh God.
No, shut up. He's the Nautilon guy. What's his name?
You don't even know his fucking name. You're talking about Kit Fisto.
I am talking about Kit Fisto. Fisto that Kit.
All right, on that note, I'm going to say we call it there.
All right. Thanks everybody for listening. This has been the Force Unscripted, talking about Karen Traviss really Mostly just me talking about Karen Travis's books, because apparently nobody else had anything to say. I don't know. I
You
don't know what
kept.
that was
When
about.
did we have time to say shit? You went and
For
didn't
some
stop. And
reason, they just never said anything. I have no clue why they just didn't talk. I was just carrying this whole episode. No idea why.
They didn't say anything. The one time I interrupt, you're interrupting me.
Yes, I was obviously being sarcastic.
Obviously, yeah. Mhm.
But make sure to follow us on all the socials, Twitter, formerly known as X, Instagram at the Force Unscripted,
Wait,
YouTube.
I haven't made the Instagram, so that's a lie. Fake news.
Instagram at the Force Unscripted. Nikita's gonna go make that right now. And yeah, YouTube, hit that bell, like and subscribe. Send us questions. We need those for our bonus episodes. We love answering you guys' questions. Thanks for joining. We'll see you guys next time. Cue music.